We want to get back now to that breaking news on the death of comedian and actor Bob Saget. We have entertainment reporter Sam Rubin on the phone with us. Sam, thank you so much for talking with us. We're sorry about that technical delay earlier. What is your reaction? What is the reaction of Hollywood tonight?
I think people are absolutely in shock. Bob Saget had been with us forever. I think we anticipated he would be with us forever, just 65 years of age, which really nowadays is young. Bob Saget was vibrant and active and very much beloved. Also working for a long time, happily so, as a touring comic. So he was out on the road, performance just last night, 2 hours in length in Jacksonville, Florida, then traveling to Orlando, Florida. I'm sure he had more Florida dates, and I know he had a huge number of dates lined up for 2022. It's just startling and shocking and sad. A menschy guy, a great guy, really well thought of in Hollywood, really respected, really funny. And there's this duality, that the TV dad and then the very, very risque comic. His show was not for kids at all. But of course, he endeared himself to families with both Full House and Fuller House.
And his range, as you mentioned, this duality, he was so good at both of these things, right? He won over people who enjoyed dark comedy and raunchy comedy, and then he also won over families who could watch Full House together.
Yeah, it was the most remarkable thing because I think usually one would sort of permeate the other, but he was this, lovable TV dad that, I'm sure a lot of people hearing this news are particularly sad because they feel to a degree raised by these parental figures. And I'm thinking of and feeling for the young women who, starred as his daughters who just absolutely loved him, really loved him. And then, if you were to see him in a comedy club, it was a different person entirely. And I think he enjoyed the fact that, people were kind of open-mouthed and shocked about it. He didn't want to embarrass anybody by any means, and he wouldn't feel comfortable doing that stuff in front of the same kind of audiences that watch the TV show. But, he played in comedy clubs where they checked your ID and made sure you were of an appropriate age. And if you were of an appropriate age, there's a phrase, comics, he was the bluest of the blue, but not in a bad way. He was funny.
He was funny, and he was also dark, and he had this satire, right? This ability to look at society and make fun of things that could be sad or dark or, scary.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, there were these sort of contrasts. He would sometimes pick up a guitar and start what you think was kind of a happy, upbeat song, but then the lyrics would have a, particularly naughty twist. And he went through some sad times. His sister, I'm terrified I'm going to mispronounce it. I want to say it's called scleroderma, but it's a really horrific ailment that starts with the skin. He was a tireless advocate and fundraiser for that particular condition. And he did an annual event here in Los Angeles where he was able to call on all his friends, and they all showed up. He also made a television movie about that subject. So he was not just all frivolity. There was a lot to him, a lot of depth to him, really good podcast that people enjoyed and admired very much called Bob Saget Is Here For You. And that's how I think people felt, that he really is, there for him. And so now to confront this news that he's gone, it's really just a shock. It's stunning and sad and hard to believe.
It is stunning. And you are someone who has interviewed every celebrity under the sun. You've been in Hollywood for a long time. You've been a reporter there. What kind of mark did he make on Hollywood?
I think the fact that he was able to so successfully keep going. At one time, between America's Funniest Home Videos and Full House, Bob Saget was probably on TV as much or more than any other personality. And usually when you burn that brightly, sometimes you just fade away entirely. He never did. Always pursuing stand-up, always pursuing a variety of, guest roles and different things. How I Met Your Mother, of course, a more recent sitcom that he was intimately involved with. Bob Saget was always around, and it's just really hard to grasp that he won't be around anymore. But obviously the memory carries on and the fondness people have for him carry on.
Yeah, it wasn't only his range and his duality and his versatility, but it was also his staying power, that he managed to stay relevant and through every age group and kind of every category of person, whether you liked shocking humor or whether you liked something that was more comfortable and family oriented.
Right, and there's not a lot of people who can do that. And the fact is that he was sort of, in the movie business, they talk about the 4 quadrants of audience, which reference gender and age, and the fact that he was sort of one of those rare 4-quadrant appeals speaks of his talent and just in a personal way, just this menschy quality. He's going to be terribly missed. He's a good guy, a nice guy, a talented guy.
And what was his life like? I mean, we saw him on the screen. I know that his father was a hospital administrator, a supermarket executive. One of his parents was a supermarket executive. The other was a hospital administrator. He came from a Jewish family. What was his life like before he broke into the big screen? You know what?
I knew him really once it started to build here. So I don't know. He was the recipient of a Student Academy Award in the early 70s, so he obviously demonstrated some talent early on. And then between America's Funniest Videos and Full House, you know, nobody's an overnight success, but he got very big very, very quickly. He's the father of 3 daughters, all who are in their 20s or a little older. He had one long-term marriage and then was recently married again. I know he was very happy in that marriage. You know, I don't really know him before he became the Bob Saget we all know, but obviously a lot of us are thinking of that Bob Saget now.
Well, whatever it was, it shaped him to be beloved by the entire country and much of the world. And I know that you joined us right away for this breaking news, but have you gotten any kind of gauge on what other celebrities are saying and the reaction tonight as people learn this shocking news?
Not quite yet. I think this will happen throughout the course of the evening and certainly overnight. I think a lot of people, frankly, aren't aware of it, and they're becoming aware of it. And I think it's going to take some time to sink in. I think the initial reaction, which was my reaction, was, well, that can't be right. But obviously and sadly it is.
Yeah, it took a while to kind of double check and confirm because no one really could believe it. And you mentioned his charity work. You mentioned his sister's illness and how that shaped him. So he had a kindness, too, that we didn't all see.
Yeah. I mean, he was very much an advocate for his sister. He was a remarkably kind guy.
All right. Well, Sam Rubin, we will let you go. We know that you're very, very busy, and we really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you for giving us a little insight into Bob Saget.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.